So I've all set up, got all 3 rods out now. I've got 2 on for carp and 1 on for the pike. Last time I fished this swim before, down in the corner, and last time I must have dragged the hook a little bit into some debris that was on the bottom, because I had some knocks during the night and nothing was hooked. When I brought in the morning, I had like a couple sort of ends of leaves and stuff attached to the hook, so I wasn't too happy with that. So what I've done this time is I'm fishing slacker line, so I don't actually move the hook at all, and fingers crossed that helps a little bit. With 1 rod, what I'm doing is I'm casting it over there and I'm flicking some tiger nuts on top of it. So I know these tiger nuts work. All the other anglers are catching on them over here, so that's what I'm going to mainly fish with. If you've heard of a tactic that's working, you might as well go to it. So with the 3rd rod, I'm in a similar area, but I don't know, probably about 2 or 3 rod lengths to the right. And what I'm doing with that is I'm fishing a small PVA sort of net, and I'm doing similar tactics, but inside that net there's a couple pellets and 15mm boilie. If it hits the bream, it hits the bream, but like I said, I'm on the other rod, it's a bit close to the margin with a few tiger nuts, and if the bream do move on, hopefully there's a carp or 2 that's surrounding the shoal and they might move to push to feed over it. But I don't know, anything could happen over the next 48 hours. If the bream move in too much, I'll just move swim. I've got 48 to play with. As well as that, I'm moving over onto Rockford onto Saturday to have a look round and a walkabout, ready for my next campaign. And as well as that, next weekend is the 8th, so I'm going to be doing my annual pike match on there which is hosted by Bournemouth Tackle Lodge with Wayne Gray, and he done a really good job last year, so I'm looking forward to giving that a go. And with the 3rd rod, I've got it out on for the pike. Like I said, on the 2 hairs though, it's a similar setup. I'm fishing all my normal tactics on the running leisure with the hairs, and on the single hairs, it's got 15mm mainline sail boilie topped off with a tiger nut. So keeping it sweet and simple. Baits are on the deck as I prefer. So on my last video for Hightown, for the winter campaign, Rob asked me if I was going to do a bit of pike fishing, and the answer is yes. So this is my setup for what I'm doing for the pike fishing. This is on my 3rd rod, the other 2 are already out for carp. And on this setup, what I'm doing is I'm using my normal carp setup for a running leisure, and what I'm doing is I'm going to be setting this rod back up for the carp tonight, because I seem to have had more joy down on these gravel pits for the pike and during the day, and more joy for the carp at night. So what I'm doing is I'm doing an alternate setup on this rod, and starting off with, obviously, I've got my quick release clip there, and what I've done is I've cut a lead clip rubber down to go over the wire tray swivel, as obviously the normal rubber wouldn't fit over it that I'd use for a hair rig. And it's a simple little setup. And how I found is even if the lead lands in weed, I can the wire will leave the bait suspended above the little bit of weed that's on the bottom, so it doesn't necessarily matter too much where I chuck it. If it lands in a bit of silt, obviously the bait's still suspended a little bit, as long as the silt's not too deep. So morning update. As you can probably hear on the brolly, it's kind of pissing it down, strong winds. The winds are up to like 40 miles per hour. Very sweet this morning. I know a bit of a crazy one moving in the wind and the rain, but the problem with the last swim is where I was too, the wind was just hacking in there too much. All the debris was just landing all over my gear. Like I said, the water and the current was all dragging it over, and well, I just couldn't keep away from it. On top of that, the pike rod was the only rod that actually had a solid take. It had 2 takes. I don't know whether it was the debris in the way, or it could have been an eel. It just didn't bite the right side with the hooks, but it is unfortunate. But however, I've decided to move in the hunt for the carp still on the other 2 rods. I'm trying a different swim for the pike as well, because hopefully, fingers crossed, the debris ain't going to affect it. The 2 carp rods are a bit further up in wind on the back of the island, so they shouldn't be affected too much by the weather. If anything, it's the rods actually on the pod itself. So I'm still using similar tactics, same baits on the hair. One's on the crank hook and one's on the talon from Hauler's Tackle, and both baits are on the deck. They've both got a mainline sail, 15mm, and a tiger nut steel. Basically, it's the same setup as what I was using in the last swim. I've just moved it all still set up. So in this hunt, like I said, I've only got, I know, a couple more sessions left on this lake before I jump onto one of the others. This is the length of time I left the Northfield, and I managed to hit what I wanted in Northfield. But the problem is with here, obviously, I've had about a month, 2 months out, because obviously I've had 2 matches during my campaign, and as well as that, I've been a vehicle down. So a bit of a shame, but I'm pretty sure I'll definitely come back here, if not on a campaign, on a few socials. But like I said, I've got a couple sessions left, still got a month or 2 left doing this, so I'll keep at it. I'll probably get a couple more sessions in, but like I said, this is the last session of the year. I've finished tomorrow's New Year's Eve, and fingers crossed we get last carp of the year. But I can't fault the year I've had. I've had a wonderful year catching carp. Like I said, I've done wob mill. I had 20, was it something like 22 or something carp by myself, and between the 3 of us we had must have been 40 something carp we had between us. And on top of that, I've got I done the Big Haze event, caught some fish there. I caught my first fish from Bearley Lake, so I've had a good year really. I also have my PB, which you've seen on Northfield. So in total it's been a good year. So if I don't catch anything this session, it doesn't sum up the year at all, because I've had a blinding year. I've had a really good year for carp fishing. But fingers crossed we get one tonight. I've got the rest of today, tonight and tomorrow, tomorrow morning, so I'll do that in this swim. The swim I've moved to is a swim that I have seen 2 carp pull out before, and that's in a previous episode with Eric. And like I said, fingers crossed it works out for me this session. So as you can see, looking at the weather, it's pretty shit. I've been here for like, I don't know, 10-15 minutes with the rods out, and as you can see, I've had my first fish, small jack pike, but it's another species to add to the fish I've caught out of Hightown, and it's a black sabre. He's a lad, isn't he? Takeaway on the bank.